Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starship Horizon, staring at the massive screen in front of him. Something was out there in the darkness of space, floating like a ghost between the stars. His crew had been exploring this part of the galaxy for 3 months, looking for new planets and new forms of life. They had found empty worlds and dead rocks, but nothing like this. "What do you think it is, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Commander Alex Rivera, his second in command. Alex was a good officer, smart and careful, but he always seemed worried about something. Jake looked at the strange object on the screen. It was huge, maybe twice the size of their own ship. The hull was made of some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with a faint light. It looked old, very old, like it had been floating in space for thousands of years. "I don't know," Jake said, "but we're going to find out. Get Dr. Carter up here." Dr. Lisa Carter arrived on the bridge a few minutes later. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms, a woman who got excited about anything new and strange. Her eyes went wide when she saw the object on the screen. "My God," she whispered. "I've never seen anything like it. The material looks organic, but it's clearly manufactured. And look at those energy readings." Jake studied the numbers on his screen. The ship was giving off very low levels of energy, barely enough to register on their sensors. But there was something there, something alive. "Is it dangerous?" Alex asked. "Unknown," Dr. Carter replied. "But the energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. We need to get closer." Jake made his decision. "All right, we're going aboard. Alex, get me a boarding team. 6 people, full protective gear. Dr. Carter, you're with us." "Captain, maybe we should just observe from a distance," Alex said. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." "That's exactly why we need to go aboard," Jake replied. "This could be the discovery of a lifetime." 20 minutes later, Jake found himself in the ship's docking bay, putting on his protective suit. The boarding team consisted of himself, Dr. Carter, Alex, and 3 security officers. They all carried weapons, but Jake hoped they wouldn't need them. The alien ship was even more impressive up close. The crystal hull seemed to pulse with life, and strange symbols were carved into its surface. They found what looked like an airlock, and managed to get it open using their ship's cutting tools. Inside, the alien vessel was dark and silent. Their lights cut through the darkness, showing corridors that were both beautiful and frightening. The walls were covered in the same crystal material as the hull, and it glowed softly wherever their lights touched it. "The air is breathable," Dr. Carter said, checking her instruments. "Oxygen levels are actually higher than on our ship." They moved deeper into the vessel, their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. Jake felt like they were walking through a tomb, a place where something important had died long ago. "Captain," one of the security officers called out, "you need to see this." They found themselves in a large chamber at the center of the ship. In the middle of the room was something that looked like a coffin, but it was made of the same crystal as everything else. Inside, they could see a figure lying still and silent. "Is it dead?" Alex whispered. Dr. Carter ran her scanner over the crystal coffin. "I'm getting life signs," she said, her voice full of excitement. "Very weak, but definitely there. It's like it's sleeping." The figure inside looked almost human, but not quite. It was tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow in the darkness. Its hair was long and white, and its face was beautiful in a way that made Jake's chest feel tight. "We should take it back to our ship," Dr. Carter said. "Think of what we could learn." "Absolutely not," Alex replied. "We don't know what it is or what it might do if it wakes up." Jake stared at the sleeping figure. There was something about it that made him feel sad, like he was looking at someone who had been alone for a very long time. "How do we wake it up?" he asked. "Jake, no," Alex said. This is too dangerous. But Dr. Carter was already working on her scanner. I think I can reverse the process, she said. Whatever is keeping it asleep, I can probably stop it. Do it, Jake ordered. The crystal coffin began to glow brighter, and the figure inside started to move. Its eyes opened, and Jake saw that they were the most beautiful eyes he had ever seen. They were blue, but not quite blue, like the color of deep water or the sky at twilight. The crystal coffin opened with a soft hiss, and the figure sat up slowly. It looked around the room, taking in the strange humans with their lights and weapons. When its eyes met Jake's, he felt something strange happen in his mind, like someone was gently touching his thoughts. Where am I? The figure asked, and Jake was surprised to hear that it spoke English, though with a strange accent. How long have I been sleeping? You're safe, Jake said, though he wasn't sure that was true. We're explorers from Earth. We found your ship floating in space. The figure stood up, and Jake could see that it was female. She was taller than any human, maybe 7 feet, and she moved with a grace that seemed impossible. Her skin was so pale it was almost white, and it seemed to glow with its own light. Earth, she repeated. I do not know this place. I am Zarathus of the Veltari. I'm Captain Jake Morrison, Jake replied. This is my crew. Zarathus looked at each of them, and Jake noticed that her eyes changed color when she looked at different people. When she looked at him, they were blue. When she looked at Alex, they turned green. When she looked at Dr. Carter, they became gold. You should not have awakened me, she said softly. I was put to sleep for good reason. What? Reason? Dr. Carter asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Zarathus looked at her sadly. Because I am dangerous. Because my people are dangerous. We feed on the life force of others. Before anyone could react, Zarathus moved faster than Jake thought possible. She reached out and touched one of the security officers, and Jake watched in horror as the man's skin turned gray and his eyes went blank. The officer fell to the ground, and Jake could see that he was not breathing. Stop! Jake shouted, raising his weapon. But Zarathus was already moving again. She touched another security officer, and the same thing happened. Then she reached for Dr. Carter. Jake fired his weapon. A blast of energy that hit Zarathus in the chest and sent her flying backward. She hit the wall and slid to the ground, gasping in pain. The energy disrupts her feeding ability, Dr. Carter said, checking her fallen colleagues. They're dead. She drained their life force completely. Zarathus looked up at Jake from where she lay on the ground. Her eyes were now black, and she looked both dangerous and sad at the same time. I told you not to wake me, she whispered. I told you I was dangerous. Jake kept his weapon pointed at her, but he didn't fire again. There was something about her that made him hesitate, something that told him she wasn't truly evil, just hungry and afraid. We're taking you back to our ship, he said. As our prisoner? You should kill me, Zarathus replied. It would be safer. Maybe, Jake said, but I don't think that's what you want. For the first time since she had awakened, Zarathus looked surprised. She stared at Jake for a long moment, and he felt that strange touching sensation in his mind again. No, she said finally, it is not what I want, but it may be what you need. 3 weeks had passed since they brought Zarathus aboard the Horizon. Jake found himself standing outside her cell more often than he liked to admit. The ship's brig was not designed for long-term prisoners, especially not ones like her doctor. Carter had been studying Zarathus every day, running tests and asking questions. She was excited about everything she learned, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes too. Fear of what Zarathus was, and what she might do if she ever got free. She's fascinating, Captain, Dr. Carter said as they walked down the corridor toward the brig. Her biology is unlike anything we've ever seen. She doesn't just drain life force for food. She can actually absorb memories and knowledge from her victims. That's terrifying, Alex said. He had been against keeping Zarathis alive from the beginning, and nothing Dr. Carter had discovered changed his mind. Maybe, Dr. Carter replied. But think about what we could learn from her. She's lived for thousands of years. She's seen civilizations rise and fall. The knowledge she has could advance human science by centuries. Jake stopped outside Zarathis' cell. Through the energy barrier, he could see her sitting on the small bed, staring at the wall. She looked sad and tired, like someone who had been carrying a heavy weight for a very long time. Has she eaten anything? Jake asked. She doesn't eat. Regular food, Dr. Carter said. She needs life force to survive. She's been getting weaker every day. Jake looked at Zarathis again. Her skin was less bright than when they first found her, and her beautiful eyes seemed dim. Leave us alone. Jake told Dr. Carter and Alex. Captain, I don't think that's wise, Alex said. The energy barrier will hold her, Jake replied. And she's too weak to be dangerous right now. After they left, Jake activated the intercom system. Hello, Zarathis. She looked up at him, and he saw surprise in her eyes. Captain Morrison, you come here often, but you rarely speak to me. I've been thinking about what you said, about being dangerous. Zarathis stood up slowly and walked to the energy barrier. Up close, Jake could see how beautiful she was, even weakened as she was now. But there was something else in her face, something that looked like sadness. My people are called the Veltari, she said. We have traveled the stars for millions of years, feeding on other species. We are very good at it. But you're different, Jake said. Aren't you? Zarathis tilted her head, studying him. Why do you think that? Because you could have killed all of us on your ship. But you only killed 2 of my men before I stopped you. Someone truly evil would have kept going. Perhaps. I was simply too weak. No, Jake said. I don't think that's it. I think you stopped yourself. For a long moment, Zarathis said nothing. Then she pressed her hand against the energy barrier, and Jake could feel that strange touching sensation in his mind again. I was not always a prisoner, she said finally. Once I was a queen of my people. I ruled over vast fleets of ships, and entire star systems bowed before me. What happened? I grew tired of the killing, Zarathis said. I watched species after species fall before us, and I began to wonder if there was another way. My people feed on life force, yes, but we do not have to kill to do so. We can take small amounts from many beings, letting them live. Jake felt, his heart beating faster. You tried to change your people's ways. Yes, and they cast me out for it. They said I was weak, that mercy was a disease that would destroy us all. My own brother led the vote to exile me. So you put yourself to sleep. I thought that perhaps, if I slept for a few thousand years, my people might change. When I woke up, maybe they would be ready to listen. Zarathis laughed, but it was not a happy sound. I was wrong. They would still see me as a traitor. Jake stared at her through the energy barrier. Everything about this woman was dangerous, but he found himself wanting to trust her anyway. Dr. Carter says you're dying, he said. Yes, without life force, my kind cannot survive for long. Perhaps it is better this way. I don't think so. Before Jake could change his mind, he reached over and turned off the energy barrier. Zarathis stepped back, shocked. Captain Morrison, what are you doing? Call me Jake, he said, stepping into the cell. And I'm giving you a choice. A choice? You can try to kill me and escape, or you can take what you need to survive without killing me. Zarathis stared at him like he had lost his mind. You would trust me with your life force? I'm trusting you to be the person you want to be, not the monster your people think you are. For a moment, Jake thought she might attack him anyway. But then Zarathis reached out very slowly and placed her hand on his chest. Jake felt warmth spread through his body, and suddenly he could see flashes of images in his mind. Memories that were not his own. He saw vast cities floating in space, filled with beings that looked like Zarathis. He saw fleets of crystal ships traveling between the stars. He saw worlds full of life being drained until nothing remained but empty husks. But he also saw Zarathis as a young woman, arguing with older members of her species. He saw her trying to protect a group of alien children from her own people. He saw the pain in her eyes when they voted to exile her. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Zarathis pulled her hand away. Jake felt dizzy and weak, but he was still alive. "Thank you," she whispered, and there were tears in her eyes. "How do you feel?" Jake asked. "Stronger, but more than that. I feel ... She struggled to find the right words. "I feel connected to you. I can sense your emotions, your thoughts." Jake realized he could sense hers too. He could feel her gratitude, her surprise, and something else. Something that felt like hope. The ship's alarm suddenly started blaring, and Jake heard Alex's voice. Over the intercom, "Captain to the bridge immediately. We're under attack." Jake ran toward the bridge, and to his surprise, Zarathis followed him. The energy barrier was down, and she was free, but instead of trying to escape, she was helping him. On the bridge, Jake could see 3 ships on the main screen. They were smaller than the horizon, but they looked fast and dangerous. "Pirates," Alex said. "They're demanding we surrender our cargo." "Not happening," Jake replied. "Battle stations." The pirate ships opened fire, and the horizon shook under the impact. Jake's crew fired back, but the pirates were quick and hard to hit. "They're trying to board us," Alex reported. "I'm reading teleporter signatures in the cargo bay." "Security teams to the cargo bay," Jake ordered, but before his security teams could respond, Zarathis was already moving. She ran toward the cargo bay faster than any human could move. Jake followed her, and what he saw when he got there made him stop in amazement. Zarathis was fighting the pirates, but she wasn't using weapons. She was using her ability to drain life force as a weapon. The pirates fell one by one as she touched them, their life force flowing into her. But Jake could see that using her powers this way was draining her too. She was getting weaker with each enemy she defeated. When the last pirate fell, Zarathis collapsed to the floor. Jake ran to her side and saw that she was barely conscious. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you help us?" "Because," she whispered, "for the first time in 2000 years, someone showed me kindness instead of fear. Someone trusted me to be better than what I am." Jake looked down at her pale face and realized something that surprised him. He was starting to care about this alien woman, this dangerous creature who had chosen to save his ship instead of escaping. "We need to get you to the medical bay," he said. "Jake," she said, and hearing her use his name made his heart skip a beat. "What you did for me, letting me feed without killing. No one has ever done that before. Maybe no one ever tried. Maybe," she agreed. "But I think you humans are very different from any species I have known." As Jake helped her to the medical bay, he wondered if she was right. Maybe humans were different. Maybe they had something that other species didn't have. Something that could change even a creature like Zarathis. He didn't know it yet, but he was about to find out just how different humans could be. Jake woke up in the middle of the night with someone else's memories in his head. He could see a planet covered in purple grass under 3 suns. He could feel the sadness of watching an entire civilization disappear in a single day. These were not his memories, but somehow they felt real. The psychic connection with Zarathis was getting stronger every day. When she was happy, he felt warm inside. When she was sad, his chest felt heavy. It was confusing and frightening, but also amazing in a way he could not explain. He got dressed and walked to the medical bay, where Zarathis was recovering. Dr. Carter had set up a special room for her there, with equipment to monitor her health and study her biology. "Can't sleep either?" Zarathis asked when she saw him. She was sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. "Your memories keep me awake," Jake said, sitting down beside her. "I saw that planet with the purple grass. I felt what you felt. When your people destroyed it, I am sorry," she said. "I cannot control the connection completely. You are experiencing things that happened thousands of years ago. Don't apologize. I'm learning about you, about your people. I understand now why you tried to change them." Zarathis turned to look at him. Her eyes were bright blue in the starlight, and Jake felt his heart beat faster. He was starting to realize that his feelings for her were becoming more than just friendship or curiosity. "What I don't understand," Jake said, "is how you stayed sane for so long, watching so much death, so much destruction." "I almost didn't," she admitted. "There were times when I thought about joining my people again, about forgetting my foolish ideas about mercy. It would have been easier, but you didn't." "No, because every time I was about to give up, I would see something that reminded me why life was precious. A mother protecting her children, friends dying for each other, love that was stronger than fear." Jake reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cool but soft, and he could feel energy flowing between them. "You've been alone for so long," he said. "Yes, but not anymore." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Jake had never felt this close to another person before, and the fact that she wasn't even human didn't seem to matter. "Captain Morrison to the bridge." Alex's voice came over the intercom, breaking the peaceful moment. "We have a situation." Jake sighed and stood up. "I have to go." "I know," Zarathis said. "I can feel your sense of duty. It's one of the things I like about you." On the bridge, Jake found his crew staring at the main screen in shock. There was another ship out there, and it looked very much like the one where they had found Zarathis. But this one was not derelict. It was alive and moving, and it was much larger than the horizon. "It appeared 5 minutes ago," Alex reported. "No warning, no energy signature. It just materialized out of nowhere." "Are they trying to communicate?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. They're asking for Zarathis by name." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Put them on screen." The image that appeared made Jake's blood run cold. The being on the screen looked like Zarathis, but where she was beautiful, this creature was terrifying. His skin was pale like hers, but his eyes were completely black, and when he smiled, Jake could see teeth that were too sharp to be natural. "Greetings, humans," the creature said. His voice was cold and cruel. "I am Kethvas of the Veltari. You have something that belongs to me. Who are you?" Jake asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. "I am brother to the traitor you call Zarathis. I have come to bring her home." "She doesn't want to go home," Jake replied. Kethvas laughed, and the sound made everyone on the bridge step backward. "What my sister wants is not important. She has committed crimes against our people. She must answer for them." "What crimes?" "She refused to feed properly. She tried to corrupt our young with ideas of mercy and weakness. And now, I hear, she has made some kind of bond with inferior beings." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "We're not inferior." "Are you not?" Kethvas asked. "You live for less than 100 years. You fight among yourselves constantly. You destroy your own planets with pollution and war. How are you not inferior?" "Because we try to be better," Jake said. "Because we help each other. because we believe that every life has value. Foolish words, Kethvos replied. But my sister always was drawn to pretty speeches. Give her to me, and I will let you live. Refuse, and I will take her anyway, and your deaths will feed my crew for months. The screen went dark, and Jake turned to Alex. How long before they can attack us? They're not moving yet, Alex said. But Captain, that ship is 10 times larger than ours. If they want to fight, we can't win. Jake felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to see Zarathis standing behind him. She had come to the bridge without him noticing. I should go with him, she said quietly. No, Jake said immediately. Absolutely not. Jake, you don't understand. My brother is not just any Veltari. He is a war leader, one of the most powerful of our kind. If I don't go willingly, he will destroy your ship and everyone on it. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Zarathis said. I have brought danger to you and your crew. I should not have allowed myself to become attached. Jake turned to face her completely. Is that what this is? An attachment? She looked at him with those beautiful, sad eyes. What else could it be? It could be love, Jake said, and he heard several members of his crew gasp behind him. Zarathis stared at him in shock. Love, Jake, I am not even human. I am a creature that feeds on life force. I have killed thousands of beings over the centuries. I don't care what you were, Jake replied. I care about who you are now. I care about the woman who chose to save my ship instead of escaping. I care about someone who spent 2,000 years alone because she refused to be a monster. You cannot love me, she whispered. Why not? Because I am too dangerous. Because my people will never stop hunting me. Because I will outlive you by thousands of years. Those are reasons to be afraid, Jake said. They're not reasons not to love someone. Kethvos' voice came over the communication system again. Humans, you have 1 hour to decide. Give me my sister, or watch your species learn what it means to face the Veltari. Alex moved closer to Jake. Captain, maybe we should consider his offer. We can't protect her if we're all dead. No, Jake said firmly. We don't give up people we care about. That's not what humans do. Then what do we do? Dr. Carter asked. Jake looked at Zarathis, and through their psychic connection, he could feel her fear and her love for him. She was terrified that her brother would hurt him, but she was also amazed that someone could care about her so much. We do what humans do best, Jake said. We find a way to win against impossible odds. How? Alex asked. I don't know yet, Jake admitted, but I know that giving up is not an option. Zarathis stepped closer to him. Jake, even if we could defeat my brother, there are thousands more like him. My people will never stop coming for me. Then we'll face them too, Jake replied. All of them, if we have to. You would do that? For me? I would do anything for you, Jake said. Because that's what love means. It means you don't give up on someone, no matter how hard things get. Zarathis reached out and touched his face with her hand. Through their connection, Jake could feel her emotions clearly now. She was no longer just surprised or grateful. She was beginning to understand what love really meant, and she was starting to feel it too. I have never known love before, she said softly. My people do not form bonds like this. We mate for reproduction, but we do not connect emotionally. Then let me teach you, Jake replied. Captain, Alex interrupted, their ship is powering weapons. Jake looked at the screen and saw that Kethvos' ship was beginning to glow with energy. They were running out of time. All hands to battle stations, Jake ordered. If they want a fight, we'll give them one. Jake, no, Zarathis said. You cannot win against them. Maybe not, Jake replied, but we're going to try. Because that's what humans do. We don't give up, and we don't abandon the people we love. As the crew prepared for battle, Jake felt Zarathus's hand slip into his. Through their connection, he could sense her making a decision, though he couldn't tell what it was. Whatever happened next, he knew that his life had been changed forever by this alien woman. He had found love in the most unlikely place, and he was not going to let anyone take it away from him. The tension on the bridge was so thick Jake could almost taste it. Kethvos' ship hung in space like a giant predator, its crystal hull pulsing with deadly energy. Jake's crew stood at their stations, ready for battle, but everyone knew they had little chance against such a powerful enemy. "Incoming transmission," Alex reported, his voice tight with stress. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. Kethvos appeared again, his black eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. "Have you made your decision, humans?" "We have," Jake replied. "Zarathus stays with us." "Foolish," Kethvos said, shaking his head. "But perhaps not unexpected. My sister always did attract weak-minded creatures with her sob stories." Jake felt Zarathus tense beside him. Through their psychic connection, he could sense her anger and pain at her brother's words. "However," Kethvos continued, "I am not. Without mercy. I will give you one chance to prove that your feelings for my sister are real." "What kind of chance?" Jake asked, though he didn't trust anything Kethvos might offer. "A test," Kethvos replied. "If you truly love Zarathus, as you claim, you will trust her completely. You will allow her to feed on you fully, to drain your life force until you are on the edge of death." The bridge went completely silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. "If she stops before killing you," Kethvos went on, "I will. Accept that she has truly changed, and I will leave in peace. If she does not stop, well, it will prove that she is still the monster she was born to be." "That's insane," Alex said. "Captain, you can't seriously consider this." "It's a trap," Dr. Carter added. "Even if Zarathus wants to stop, her biology might not let her." Jake looked at Zarathus. Her face was pale with fear, and her hands were shaking. "He's right to be afraid," she whispered. "Jake, I have never tried to stop a full feeding before. I don't know if it's even possible." "But you think it might be?" Jake asked. "I don't know," she said honestly. "When a Veltari begins a complete feeding, every instinct tells us to drain everything. The rush of life force is like a drug. It becomes impossible to think clearly." "Impossible for a normal Veltari," Jake said. "But you're not normal, are you? You've already proven you can do things your people think are impossible." "Jake, please," Zarathus begged. "Don't ask this of me. I couldn't live with myself if I killed you. And I can't live with myself if I don't try," Jake replied. "This might be our only chance to end this peacefully." Kethvos's voice came through the speakers again. "You have 5 minutes to decide. After that, I will take my sister by force and destroy your ship." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Alex was shaking his head in disapproval. Dr. Carter looked terrified. The other officers seemed torn between fear and respect for their captain's courage. "Sir," Alex said quietly, "there has to be another way." "If there is, I can't see it," Jake replied. "We can't fight them and win. We can't run fast enough to escape. This is our only option." "It's not an option. It's suicide," Alex argued. "Maybe," Jake said. "But if Zarathus can do this, if she can prove that love is stronger than instinct, then maybe we can change everything. Maybe we can show her people that there's a better way to live." Jake turned to Zarathus and took her hands in his. "I trust you," he said simply. "How can you trust me with this?" she asked, tears flowing down her cheeks. "How can you have so much faith in me?" "Because I've seen who you really are," Jake replied. "I've felt your heart through our connection. You're not a monster, Zarathus. You're someone who chose love over hate, mercy over cruelty. That's not weakness. That's strength. But what if I'm wrong about myself? What if I can't stop? Then I'll die knowing that I trusted the right person, Jake said. And maybe that will be enough to show your brother and your people that humans don't give up on the ones we love. Zarathus stared at him for a long moment, and Jake could feel the war going on inside her mind. Fear and love, doubt and hope, all fighting for control. All right, she said finally. I'll try. Jake activated the ship's communication system. Kethvos, we accept your test. Excellent, Kethvos replied, and Jake could hear the satisfaction in his voice. Bring my sister to your main cargo bay. My crew and I will transport over to witness this momentous event. Absolutely not, Alex said. We're not letting armed enemies onto our ship. The test must be witnessed, Kethvos insisted. How else can I be sure you won't try to fake the results? Jake thought for a moment. Fine, but only you and 2 guards. And they leave their weapons on your ship. Agreed, Kethvos said. 20 minutes later, Jake stood in the cargo bay with most of his crew. Kethvos had arrived as promised, bringing 2 other Veltari with him. They were all tall and pale like Zarathus, but where she radiated sadness and hope, these creatures felt cold and dangerous. Sister, Kethvos said when he saw Zarathus, you look well. This human diet seems to agree with you. Hello, brother, Zarathus replied. You haven't changed. Why should I change? I am perfect as I am. Kethvos walked around Jake like a predator studying its prey. So this is the human who thinks he loves you. He's smaller than I expected. Size doesn't matter, Jake said. It's what's inside that counts. How wonderfully naive, Kethvos laughed. Very well, let us begin this farce. Sister, you know what you must do. Zarathus walked over to Jake, her hands trembling. Are you sure about this? She whispered. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Jake replied. He lay down on the floor in the center of the cargo bay, with both crews watching from a safe distance. Zarathus knelt beside him and placed her hands on his chest. I love you, Jake said softly, so only she could hear. I love you too, she replied, and Jake could feel through their connection that she meant it completely. Zarathus closed her eyes and began to feed. At first, it felt like the time before, when she had taken just enough to survive. Jake felt warmth spreading through his body, and he could see flashes of her memories again. But then something changed. The warmth became heat, and the heat became fire. Jake felt his strength being pulled out of him like water down a drain. His vision started to blur, and his heart began to race. Through their psychic connection, he could feel what Zarathus was experiencing. The rush of life force was incredible, like drinking liquid starlight. Every instinct in her body was telling her to take more, to drain him completely. Jake's breathing became shallow, and he could hear Dr. Carter calling out readings from her scanner. His life signs were dropping rapidly, but even as his body weakened, Jake kept his mind focused on one thing, his love for Zarathus. He pushed that feeling through their connection with all the strength he had left, trying to remind her who she really was. Zarathus was fighting the greatest battle of her life. Her biology screamed at her to finish the feeding, to take everything. But Jake's love was like an anchor, holding her to her true self. Stop, she whispered, but she didn't stop. Jake's vision went dark around the edges. He could barely feel his heartbeat anymore. Stop, Zarathus said again, louder this time. Kethvos was watching with interest. Fascinating, he said. She's actually trying to resist, but it won't work. No Veltari has ever stopped a complete feeding. Stop, Zarathus screamed, and with a tremendous effort of will, she pulled her hands away from Jake's chest. The sudden end of the feeding sent shockwaves through both of them. Zarathis collapsed beside Jake, her body shaking from the effort of fighting. Her own nature. Jake lay gasping on the floor, barely conscious, but alive. Dr. Carter ran over with her medical scanner. "He's alive," she said in amazement. "Weak, but alive." Kethvus stared at his sister in complete shock. "Impossible," he whispered. Zarathis looked up at him with exhausted but triumphant eyes. "You were wrong, brother. Love is not weakness. It's the strongest force in the universe." For the first time since Jake had met him, Kethvos looked uncertain. "This proves nothing," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "It proves everything," Jake said weakly, reaching for Zarathis' hand. "It proves that anyone can choose to be better than what they were born to be." Kethvos looked around the cargo bay at the human crew, all of whom were staring at him with a mixture of fear and defiance. These weak, short-lived creatures had somehow given his sister the strength to do the impossible. "This is not over," he said finally. But as he and his guards prepared to leave, Jake could see doubt in his eyes for the first time. Jake woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. His body felt weak, but his mind was clearer than it had ever been. When he tried to sit up, he found Zarathis sleeping in a chair beside his bed, her hand resting on his arm. The moment he moved, she opened her eyes. They were brighter than before, filled with a light that hadn't been there when they first met. "You're awake," she said, relief flooding her voice. "I was so worried. Dr. Carter said you might not wake up for days." "How long have you been here?" Jake asked. "Since they brought you in," she replied. "I haven't left your side." Jake looked at her more carefully. Something was different about her, something beyond just the brightness in her eyes. She looked stronger, more alive than she had since they found her. "The feeding changed something, didn't it?" he asked. Zarathis nodded. "Dr. Carter says our psychic connection is much stronger now. But it's more than that, Jake. I can feel things I never felt before. Human emotions are flowing through me. Joy, hope, love. My people have no words for these feelings." "And how does it feel?" "Wonderful," she said, smiling. "Terrifying and wonderful at the same time." Dr. Carter entered the medical bay, carrying a tablet full of test results. "Captain, you're awake." "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a transport ship." Jake sighed, "but alive." "More than alive," Dr. Carter said excitedly. "The feeding has changed you too. Your brain is showing activity in areas we've never seen before. I think you've developed some kind of psychic abilities." Jake concentrated, and suddenly he could sense the emotions of everyone on the ship. Alex was worried about him, but also proud. Dr. Carter was fascinated by the scientific implications. The crew was relieved their captain was okay. "This is incredible," Jake said. "I can feel what everyone is thinking." "Not thinking," Zarathis corrected. "Feeling. The connection allows us to share emotions, not thoughts. Though sometimes the two are very close together." Alex walked into the medical bay, looking tired but relieved. "Captain, we need to talk. Kethvus left something for you before he departed." "He left?" Jake asked, surprised. Doppel quotes, "Yes, sir." "Right after the test ended. But he gave me this message to pass along." Alex handed Jake a small crystal device. When Jake touched it, Kethvos' voice filled the room. "Human," the voice said, "what my sister did should have been impossible. No Veltare has ever resisted a complete feeding. You have forced me to reconsider everything I believed about our nature," the message continued. "I cannot accept what I have seen, but I cannot deny it either. I am returning to our home worlds to tell the council what happened here. Some will call me a liar. Others will demand proof. But some, perhaps, will be curious enough to listen." Jake looked at Zarathis. "What does this mean?" It means change might be coming to my people, she said. Very slowly and with much resistance, but change nonetheless. There's more, Alex said. Kethvos left coordinates to a place he called the Haven. He said there are others there who might be interested in meeting us. Double quotes. Dr. Carter looked up from her tablet. Others? Other Veltari who have been exiled like Zarathis, Alex explained. Apparently, she's not the only one who questioned their people's ways. Jake felt excitement building in his chest. How many others? Unknown, Alex replied. But Kethvos said there were enough to form a small community. Jake looked at Zarathis and saw hope shining in her eyes. Through their connection, he could feel her emotions clearly. She was excited, but also afraid. What if the other exiles rejected her? What if they didn't understand the change she had gone through? We have to go there, Jake said. Captain, Alex said carefully, are you sure that's wise? We don't know anything about this place or these people. I know Zarathis, Jake replied. And I know that if there are others like her out there, they deserve a chance to find a better way to live. The journey will take 2 weeks, Alex said, and we'd be going into completely unexplored space. Then we'd better get started, Jake said, trying to sit up. Dr. Carter immediately pushed him back down. You're not going anywhere for at least another day, she said firmly. Your body needs time to recover from what happened. She's right, Zarathis said. Rest now. The Haven has waited this long. It can wait a little longer. That night, Jake and Zarathis sat together in the observation lounge, watching the stars. Jake was feeling much stronger, and the psychic connection between them was humming with contentment. Are you nervous about meeting the others? Jake asked. Yes, Zarathis admitted. I left my people over 2,000 years ago. The exiles at the Haven might not understand the changes I've gone through. They might not understand what I've learned from you and your crew. What have you learned? Zarathis was quiet for a moment, thinking. I've learned that love is not weakness, as my brother claimed. Love is strength. It gives us the power to be better than our nature tells us to be. And I've learned something too, Jake said. I've learned that being human isn't about the species you were born into. It's about the choices you make. And you've made the most human choice of all, which is, you chose to change. You chose to grow. You chose to love. Zarathis leaned against his shoulder, and Jake felt their psychic connection deepen even further. He could sense her memories flowing into his mind, but now they didn't feel foreign. They felt like they belonged to both of them. 2 weeks later, the horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a small planet that didn't appear on any human star charts. The world was covered in crystal formations that looked similar to Veltari ships, but these structures seemed to grow naturally from the ground. Incoming transmission, Alex reported. The face that appeared on the screen was Veltari, but unlike Kethvos, this being looked peaceful. Her eyes were silver instead of black, and when she smiled, Jake didn't feel any fear. Welcome, travelers, she said. I am Lyranus, speaker for the Haven. We have been expecting you. Expecting us? Jake asked. Word travels fast among the exiled, Lyranus replied. We heard about what happened with Kethvos, about the impossible thing his sister accomplished. We are very curious to meet the humans who taught love to a Veltari. Within hours, Jake found himself standing in a city unlike anything he had ever seen. Crystal buildings rose from the ground like living things, and the streets were filled with beings from dozens of different species. There were Veltari, but also creatures Jake didn't recognize, all living together peacefully. This is incredible, Dr. Carter whispered. It's like a federation of outcasts. Lyranus led them to the center of the city, where hundreds of beings had gathered to meet them. Jake saw Veltari standing next to creatures with scales, others with fur, and some It seemed to be made of pure energy. "These are all exiles?" Jake asked. "All of us were cast out by our own people for refusing to follow the old ways," Lyranus explained. "We came here to build something new. A place where different species could live together without fear." "But you still need to feed," Jake pointed out to the Valtari in the crowd. "Yes," Lyranus said, "but we have learned to do so without killing. The other species here share their life force willingly, in small amounts that do not harm them. In return, we share our knowledge and protection." Zarathus stepped forward, and Jake could feel her nervousness through their connection. "I am Zarathus, formerly of the royal bloodline. I seek sanctuary among the exiled." "We know who you are," Lyranus said kindly. "Your story has given hope to Veltari across the galaxy. You proved that we can choose love over hunger. You are welcome here." Jake watched as Zarathus was embraced by her own kind for the first time in millennia. Through their psychic connection, he felt her joy and relief wash over him like a warm wave. "And what about us?" Alex asked. "Are humans welcome here too?" "More than welcome," Lyranus replied. "We would be honored if you would stay and help us build this new kind of civilization. Your people have something special, something we have been searching for." "What's that?" Jake asked. "Hope," Lyranus said simply. "The belief that anyone can change, that anyone can become better than they were. We need that hope if we're going to show the galaxy a different way to live." Jake looked around at the diverse crowd of beings, all of them outcasts who had chosen to build something better together. He thought about his mission to explore space and discover new forms of life. He had certainly done that, but he had found something even more valuable. He had found a purpose. "Captain," Alex said quietly, "what are you thinking?" Jake took Zarathus's hand and felt their psychic connection pulse with shared determination. "I'm thinking we found something worth fighting for," he said. "Something worth building." "The Horizon could serve as an ambassadorship," Dr. Carter suggested. "We could travel between the Haven and human space, building bridges between different species. And maybe," Zarathus added, "we could find other exiles out there. Other people who want to choose love over fear." Jake squeezed her hand and smiled. "Do you truly love me, human?" She had asked him once, unable to believe his reply. Now he knew that his answer had changed everything, not just for them, but potentially for the entire galaxy. Love, it turned out, was indeed the strongest force in the universe. And Jake Morrison, captain of the starship Horizon, was ready to spend the rest of his life proving it.